My girlfriend of a year slept with another guy while we were taking it slow, a month into dating me. I have been with this girl I'll call Jess for close to a year now. Since specifics matter here, we started dating around last Thanksgiving, but it was only about a month later when we said we were in an official relationship. I really like this girl from the get-go, and we've gotten very close since then, and we're actually planning on moving together soon. Here's a problem. Recently Jess and I ran into a guy at a small get-together with mutual friends. They exchanged a weird look like there was something between them, but I didn't think too much of it at the time. During the party something came up about the place Jess went to for a date. The time was clear since it was a Christmas market in my town, and again I thought something was off about the guy. Well, later that night I actually got a text from him. He got my number from one of the mutual friends, but said, "Hey, I don't know you, but I thought you should know that Jess and I hooked up right after Christmas." I confronted Jess about this and I could tell she tensed up right away. She got this sad look on her face, but confessed right away. She said she had met this guy on Tinder and hooked up a couple of times but stopped any contact before we became official. She said she wasn't sure we would get into a relationship at that time, but she still felt bad that I found out this way. She said she considered telling me but was afraid it would ruin things between us. I told her I needed some time to think and proceeded to get drunk that night and ignored her texts. The thing is, I feel very betrayed and I'm really considering ending things. Sure, we weren't official when this happened, but we had already been on multiple dates at that time, and I thought it was pretty clear that we were moving towards a full-fledged relationship. On my side, I had no interest in pursuing other girls at that point because I only wanted to be with Jess. And on her end she was definitely hinting at us evolving into a couple and strongly hinting at exclusivity. The other part that kills me is that during this early stage, Jess specifically said she wanted to take things slow physically until we knew each other better. But during this same time she hooks up with a guy she barely knew from Tinder. When I asked her this, she said it's different because she took it slow with me specifically because she thought we would get into a relationship, but it was somehow different with a casual hookup. That logic makes zero sense to me. I don't really want to talk about it with my friends because I think they would hate Jess if they end up staying together. But I would like to hear opinions here. Would you stay in a relationship like this if things were going well but the beginning was so shady? TL.er. My GF met up and hooked up with a guy while we were dating but not officially while she was taking it slow with me. Relevant comments. Comment 1, in my opinion, if you're dating someone and moving towards a serious relationship, you don't freaking bang other people. This would be a deal breaker for me, but you do you, man. If you can't get past it, then end it. OP, yeah, that's how I feel as well. It would have been one thing if she was just talking to other guys in the early stages while we were still defining things. Of course that's fine and normal, but it feels like a slap in the face that she found another guy to sleep with after we had already gone on quite a few dates and I made it clear I thought we were moving towards a serious relationship, which she seemed to also acknowledge. There is no way she didn't know I would feel hurt that she did that. OP also added to a deleted comment. Teacher logic made no sense to me. She tried to explain that with guys she wants to be in a relationship, she wants it to feel special and wants to build an emotional connection. But for guys she sees no future. She sometimes just wanted some physical fun that meant nothing. But I just can't wrap my mind about that. It feels like a gut punch that as we were getting closer and building a connection, she didn't want to be intimate with me, but instead preferred to find someone else. No matter how she rationalizes it, it's hard not to feel like a second choice of sorts. Update. As the title says, I decided to break up with Jess. I kept going back and forth because I was worried I was throwing away a great thing over something that happened in the past, but the problem is I thought I really wouldn't be able to get past it. I can't help what she did was really shitty. Yes, I know that technically she did not cheat, but she knew that I wanted a real relationship and that we were potentially moving in that direction. But meanwhile she expected me to plan, and pay for, interesting dates, court her and prove that I was worthy of her while she happily hooked up with randos who basically did nothing but show an interest in fucking. Fuck that. In a follow-up conversation it also came up that her friends sort of guided her to act like this. That she should basically allow herself to have fun and to keep her casual options open but with me to make me work for it, and show that I wasn't just looking for sex but was capable of being a committed partner. The whole thing just seems so manipulative and ugly. And these were also mutual friends who I considered to be nice girls, and now my friends as well. Now I never want to see any of those pieces of shit ever again. Anyway. I know this is starting to sound a bit like a rant lol, but I felt pretty pissed off and basically called it quits. The actual breakup was actually quite unpleasant. No harsh words were exchanged, but Jess cried and we kind of talked about some happy times. I guess that's the hardest part about this. Like, I don't think she is a bad girl and maybe we could have had a nice future together like we did over the past few months. But in the end, I do think I made the right decision. I want to be with someone who treats me well from the get-go, not someone who manipulates me while playing games just so she can have her cake and eat it too. I left because my husband almost killed our newborn son by not paying attention. My young daughter tried to save her brother and got hurt. I'm 25, and have been with my husband, 30, since 2018. We have a 3-year-old girl and a newborn boy. But tonight, things almost took a turn for the worse. My husband has always had trouble paying attention, but I never thought it would come to this. Our neighborhood is weirdly laid out, with cars zooming by at crazy speeds at all hours of the day. I was folding clothes when I heard our toddler screaming, "Dad, help!" That tone made me drop everything and sprint outside. What I saw made my blood run cold, our newborn in his stroller, careening towards the busy street. I screamed and ran to him, barely stopping the stroller in time. My baby girl's hands and knees were scratched up because she tripped trying to run after the stroller. I snatched up my baby, heart pounding, and scanned for my husband. He wasn't watching. He was chatting with neighbors, completely oblivious. The anger I felt was unlike anything I've ever experienced. I stormed up to him, shouting in disbelief. He looked shocked at first, then realized what almost happened. The apologies and tears came pouring out, but it was too late. I couldn't wrap my head around how he could be so careless, so blind to our toddler's screams and the stroller rolling away. I packed up the kids and left, staying with my parents. They're on my side, but my husband keeps texting, begging forgiveness, calling it an honest mistake. But I can't shake the terror of almost losing my baby because he couldn't focus for a single second. My baby girl got hurt in the process because he couldn't pay attention. I almost lost my son because he couldn't pay attention. I can't stop crying. I feel so guilty. I wish this all never happened. Sorry it's short. I just want to hold my babies and I can't stop shaking every time I think about it. What if I was just 1 second late? Would I have been planning a funeral? And the reason I left the house instead of him was because I hate that house. I don't feel like it is safe for the kids with all the traffic, and I was right. It's my husband's workhouse. I can't be running either. I had a C-section less 6 weeks ago. A lot of people are saying, why wasn't I watching the kids? I was doing their laundry like a parent. Does he takes them for walks to have bonding time with them? He literally created this by himself. This has never happened before. How was I supposed to know? And people saying, why didn't I get him checked out? I'm not his mother. He is 30 years old. I'm sick of people acting like I have to parent my own husband while I literally have a newborn, a toddler, and I'm still healing from a C-section that I teared my stitches from when I ran to get my baby. I don't care if it was his ADHD. The court wouldn't care either. If he killed my child, he would have gone to prison. Either way. Relevant comments. Comment 1. Okay, he was 100% wrong and I'd be livid just like you. However, I'm a little confused about the situation. Like, why was your baby just in a stroller unattended? Why did the stroller randomly go into the road? Since it sounds like you were at home, is this maybe something y'all normally do just to have a place for a baby to sit out front of your house when your toddler is playing outside? And maybe it was a freak accident. I'm going to be honest, as a mom, most of us have stories of near-death experiences with our kids. We can be naive and stupid and expect a little child to have more awareness, survival skills than they do. When my son was 2, we had a horrible experience with an escalator, and I still have times where I can't sleep because of it. We are all idiots when it comes to parenting, because how can you know until you live it? And seriously, like, every parent has one of these moments, unless you're one of those insanely lucky ones. I still really don't understand the whole scenario of what happened, but to me it seems he really has remorse and feels terrible. And once you go through something like that, you never forget it. So if he cares and loves your kids, he's devastated and has learned a hard lesson. I don't know that your response was the best, but get why you did it in the moment. But I think you guys have a serious talk and maybe look into moving if possible. I wouldn't go straight to divorce like Reddit loves to preach. I think there is a solution here. And so sorry you're dealing with this, it's literally the worst feeling in the world. OP. Hi love, let me just clear it up for you. So I was sitting inside in the lounge room and there's a huge window behind the TV that was a little open so I could hear outside. That's when I heard my toddler scream for her dad to help. When I was outside, he was standing on the neighbor's driveway. I assume that he must have had left the baby literally on the road because there was no possible way that it would have rolled off like that, and my toddler was playing with the neighbor's cat before she noticed her brother was rolling away when I confronted him about it. He tried to explain but he just kept stuttering. I still don't know what exactly happened. I don't know if he didn't put the brakes on the stroller. If the wind blew him away, I just don't know. My neighbor contacted me and asked if I wanted the security footage because his wife is 100% on my side, so I'll probably find out once it gets sent to me. Comment 2. I want to acknowledge that this is a horrific situation, but saying I don't care if it was his ADHD isn't going to fix anything, and will probably only make things worse. Talking and thinking about it like he intentionally tried to kill your child isn't either. With ADHD, you actually do not register things like this at all sometimes. Life expectancy for those of us with ADHD is actually significantly lower because many of us end up, often accidentally, killing ourselves. It is not the same thing as carelessness, but learning about ADHD a little deeper can help you guys be safer. Understanding how my ADHD works and using different than standard precautions, like my brain needs, has actually most likely saved my life. Lie out what you want from him. That's probably because he gets his ADHD better under control, whether that be through prescription medication or more homeopathic method, that you get a different place if possible, that he does not take your kids out in your front yard without you, etc. Also, neither he or the neighbor noticed, but you heard your kid from inside? Something seems off here. Were your neighbors just watching the stroller roll towards the street? Was your husband on the other side of your house where he couldn't see the stroller? Were you already walking outside as this unfolded? I'm trying to understand better what was going on here and why your husband or the neighbor did not notice, but you did from inside. People with ADHD tend to be incredibly good and quick to act in emergency situations, so this is especially weird. I'm absolutely not accusing you of leaving anything out or anything, but asking you to think about what your husband and the neighbor were doing that neither noticed. That smells fishy. This is a horrible situation. I lost a pet due to the inattentiveness of ADHD, but I can't imagine losing or even nearly losing a child. OP, that's why I'm waiting for the footage. It doesn't make sense how this all happened. I don't know how to explain my house. There's a huge window in the lounge room, it was open a little too, I can listen out, the neighbor's house is 2 houses away. We are at the end of the street near the main road, that when you first walk into my house on your left there is the lounge on the right. The kitchen, when I got up I couldn't run that fast because I'm still healing. Sorry if this doesn't make sense. When I ran outside, the neighbor's wife was running for the stroller but was still far away, and the neighbor was helping my little girl off the road. That's all I seen. I'm just waiting for a response from them. My husband was just standing there, hands on his head, doing nothing. Comment 3, I fucking screamed when I read what happened. Are you okay? Like, did you get any more damage to yourself? You literally just had a baby. What the fuck was your husband doing? Like, being outside with small children, especially on a busy street, should be treated like watching babies swim because anything can happen in an instant. I hope you're okay, and also, DDK, but do you all have cameras in your house? I wonder how long your husband was talking to the neighbor. OP, I tore my stitches from the C-section and had to go to the ER while I was there. I made sure my baby girl got her knees and hands bandaged up. The crazy thing is, I didn't even realize I was bleeding until I was in my parents' car. My mom pointed it out. She panicked and took the baby boy back to their house, and my dad took me and my daughter to the hospital. Update 1. The neighbor's wife sent me the footage, and I really can't just wrap my head around it. So my husband was walking with the stroller and my toddler was in front of them when they passed the neighbor's house. My neighbor was outside, washing his car, and my toddler saw his pet cat and stopped to pet it. So my husband stopped. Left my baby on the road. He didn't even bother locking the wheels and walked all the way up the driveway, not even bothering looking back at the baby. He had his back faced to him for about 5 minutes before the stroller just suddenly started moving. I think it's because the road is on a hill kinda, or it could have been the wind. My toddler never went near the stroller. It couldn't be her. The stroller went down the road and my toddler. That's when she started screaming and running for it when she saw it. The neighbor started running after my daughter when she tripped. He tried to pick her up. That's when the neighbor's wife's car comes into frame and she stops and starts running back to the way the stroller is coming after that. You can't really see anything because it's all out of frame, but you can hear all the commotion. My husband just stood there the whole time, hand on his head with a blank stare on his face. He didn't even do anything when our toddler was crying from hurting herself. He only started crying when I confronted him. What should I do? I genuinely do not know what to do. I'm panicking. This was never the life I wanted for my kids. I don't understand why he was standing there. I have not even gotten a text or a call from him since I got sent the video. It's just been silent. I just can't get the sound of my daughter's screams. That's the sound that no mother wants to hear. I can't explain at the moment, but it felt like my blood went cold. And I just felt pure fear. I never want to watch the footage again. Update 2. Hey everyone, I posted here a while back about my husband nearly killing our newborn son. I wanted to give a quick update on the situation. After reading through the comments, I decided to go back to my husband. Many of you pointed out that if I left him, we'd end up with 50-50th custody of our kids, which I couldn't bear. So I made the difficult choice to stay, even though my love for him has faded. My plan now is to tough it out until our kids turn 18, and then leave. I'm terrified of getting pregnant again, especially since I'm not allowed to use birth control or get my tubes tied. My parents, who could offer support, are moving away, leaving me feeling trapped. Despite everything, my husband tries hard to make things right. He still treats me with affection and goes out of his way to create special moments for our family. Seeing him bond with our newborn and our daughter fills me with conflicting emotions. I know I can't stand being with him, but I can't bear to separate him from our kids either. He was so happy when we came back home, but I can't stand even looking at him. I feel some guilt because he still calls me by my nickname, looks at me like I'm the only girl in the world, besides our daughter, and he still continues our traditions, like when the kids are sleeping he will go get ice cream and our favorite snacks and sets up a fort on our bed to watch movies on our laptop. Even though I'm sacrificing my happiness, my priority is ensuring my children's safety and well-being. It's a tough situation, but I'm doing my best to navigate it for the sake of my family. This is a throwaway, so I'm gonna log out by update 3. As you can see from my previous post, I did go back to him and it was quite literally the biggest mistake I've ever made, but I felt like I really had no choice. No money, family moved out of state, a lot has happened the past couple of months, so it turns out my husband started taking meds for his ADHD a couple of weeks before I was due to give birth to our son. He took my kids on a walk to cover up the fact that he was also on meth. He took my kids to meet his dealer apparently every time they went for a walk. Looking back at the footage now, it makes so much sense because of the way he was talking to the neighbor before everything happened. He was kind of leaning to the side. I talked to my neighbor, and I asked him if he knew that my husband was on drugs. He said he didn't, but he noticed that my husband looked a bit off recently. His wife works at a rehab clinic after a fight where I had to flee with the kids to the neighbor's house. She pointed out that the way he was acting was the way that people acted with drug withdrawal. My neighbor and his wife ended up helping me book a flight to my parents. I'm currently with them right now, and I have spoken to a lawyer that my parents are going to help me pay for. I think all the people from my original post that told me to keep the footage because it is going to come in handy. My husband keeps sending me videos of him shooting up and doing other substances. He keeps saying that they are going to fix him. He sent me a video of him standing in our kids' room. And he was just screaming at me, saying that it helped him cope with his addiction. He took a knife and stabbed both of our kids' mattresses. I am not going back. He even cut up the side of my bed. There's a comment from my previous post that has been sitting in the back of my mind and has been bugging me. I think you know which one it was. It was by relevant comment, saying I don't care if it was his ADHD isn't going to fix anything and will probably only make things worse. Talking and thinking about it like he intentionally tried to kill your child isn't either. With ADHD you actually do not register things like this at all sometimes. Life expectancy for those of us with ADHD is actually significantly lower because many of us end up, often accidentally, killing ourselves. It is not the same thing as carelessness, but learning about ADHD a little deeper can help you guys be safer. Understanding how my ADHD works and using different than standard precautions, like my brain needs, has actually most likely saved my life. Lie out what you want from him? That's probably because he gets his ADHD better under control, whether that be through prescription medication or more homeopathic methods, that you get a different place if possible, that he does not take your kids out in your front yard without you, etc. Also, neither he or the neighbor noticed, but you heard your kid from inside. Something seems off here. Were your neighbors just watching the stroller roll towards the street? Was your husband on the other side of your house where he couldn't see the stroller? Were you already walking outside as this unfolded? I'm trying to understand better what was going on here and why your husband or the neighbor did not notice, but you did from inside. People with ADHD tend to be incredibly good and quick to act in emergency situations, so this is especially weird. I'm absolutely not accusing you of leaving anything out or anything, but asking you to think about what your husband and the neighbor were doing that neither noticed. That smells fishy. This is a horrible situation. I lost a pet due to the inattentiveness of ADHD, but I can't imagine even nearly losing a child. WTF, it baffles me that you can even compare losing an animal to losing a child. You made people with ADHD sound completely unreliable for themselves and that they can't do anything. You made them sound very helpless, and saying that the life expectancy thing was completely uncalled for as well. I bet many people with ADHD reading that completely disagreed with you, judging from all the comments and YouTube videos I've seen on my post. I don't know if you're projecting that you lost a pet from your inattentiveness of ADHD. If you were letting things die in your care, you need to get stronger help. And no, I was not going to lay out what I want from him. He's the one that started mixing his meds and was high off his mind every time they went out for a walk. And no, I'm not ableist. I was in a very vulnerable state, When I first posted my original post, all I was doing was looking for help and advice, but all I got was, where was you, what were you doing? Why weren't you with the kids? Why didn't you get your husband checked out? I was healing from a fucking C-section, get that through your heads. I genuinely hope that everybody that said something horrible about me in my original post has to get cut open and then 4 days later is forced to run down the street. I gave him another chance like you all said in my original post. You saw what happened. Stop using ADHD as an excuse. I genuinely believe that if he had killed my child, you would have defended him, and no, I did not know he was on drugs. And all the people that reached out to me, I'm going to be forever grateful for all of the parents with ADHD that didn't make me feel like it was all my fault, and all the stories that you guys have shared with me made me feel so seen because I know exactly how it feels. I hope everybody is doing well. Everybody that was defending me. I wish I could give you a big hug. I genuinely wish I could send gift baskets. I would thank you all from the bottom of my heart, and I am so sorry about that comment that person made. I know you guys are all not like that. You guys are genuinely intelligent. From all the comments that I've read, I could not thank you guys enough. And one person that sent me that horrible message, I genuinely hope I run into you one day so I can beat your ass until you see stars and say anything about my daughter or my son one more time, and I will literally track you down. Our autistic son committed suicide, and the other children blamed us. We don't know what to do. This is an Am I the Asshole post as well as an asking for advice. Sorry for the long text, but please read the whole thing as there are many important details in it that I couldn't fit into the TLDR. My husband, 59, and I, 50, have had 3 children: James, 27, Kate, 23, and Stephen, 20. When he was 6, Stephen got diagnosed with autism and we did everything to accommodate him and get help. He kept saying that he doesn't want any help and wants to be treated like a normal person. We always tried to reassure him that he needs it to achieve the same results as other kids and he should accept himself and be proud and not listen to society or other people. By the way, everyone was always super accepting and did their best to accommodate. But Stephen wouldn't listen and said that he's as competent as other people, and was it before he got diagnosed, and we started treating him like a subhuman too. Whenever someone would try to help him, he immediately started to explain that he doesn't want or need any help and came up with excuses. As he grew older, Stephen distanced himself from other people because he didn't want anyone to know him as an autistic person. He even asked us to let him change schools and not tell anyone at the new school about his condition, which we of course didn't allow. By the time he was in his early teens, he fell into a really bad depression and became suicidal, but refused to take medication or go to therapy to treat it because at that point he wouldn't accept any help from anyone at all, even if it wasn't for his autism. Stephen claimed that the cause of his depression was the special treatment everyone gave him and he just wanted to live as a normal person. He tried to make a compromise that if we let him go to a different school where no one knows about his autism and stop treating him differently, he will get treatment for his depression. By then James, Kate and a few of Stephen's teachers were encouraging us to let him do it, but we still said no. When Stephen was 15, he attempted to kill himself by hanging. At 18, he finished school, got accepted into his dream university, moved out and cut off contact with my husband and me. He still kept talking to his siblings. He left us an angry goodbye letter in which he claimed that we ruined 12 years of his life, that we are the reason why he's still depressed and suicidal, and that he hates us with a passion. He said that now he finally won't be known as a crazy, stupid and awkward person who needs help for everything, and can lead a normal life. We tried to call him and sent him letters and emails, but he didn't answer. Recently we visited him at his university, but he wouldn't talk to us and eventually threatened to get a restraining order, after which we immediately left. We haven't heard much about him since then, but from what his siblings told us, he was doing better now, although he still suffered from depression. Anyway, today he committed suicide. From what we know, he overdosed on medication. Kate, who told us the sad news, says that we shouldn't have given Stephen any special treatment, or at least stopped when he told us to, and that by treating him differently we basically drove him into suicide. She said that we've failed as parents and she will consider cutting contact with us too because she doesn't want people like us as parents. James agreed with her and said that we should at least acknowledge our mistake. Kate packed her stuff and left shortly after. She originally planned to stay for New Year's too, saying that if we want to keep a relationship with her, we should admit what we did wrong and learn from it. We, however, think that it's the fault of society with its standards and expectations, and Stephen's own fault because he wouldn't accept any help. We're absolutely devastated. Is Stephen's suicide really our fault, and what can we do to save what's left of our family? TLDR, our son was diagnosed with autism as a child. We got all the help we could, but he didn't want it. In his teens he became depressed and suicidal. He cut contact with us when he moved out. Today we found out he killed himself, and our children say that it's our fault. Our daughter threatens to cut contact as well. Are we really to blame for his death, and what should we do? Tomorrow would have been the 21st birthday of our son who took his life almost a year ago. Posted November 28, 2022. Tomorrow would have been the 21st birthday of our son who took his life almost a year ago. My husband and I, 60M and 51F, have had 3 children. Stephen, 20M, Kate, 24F, and James, 27M. At the age of 6, Stephen got diagnosed with autism, and we did everything we could to get help and accommodations. Everyone was super accepting and did their best to accommodate, and we always told him to be proud and not care about social norms, but Stephen still refused to accept any help and demanded that we stop treating him like a subhuman. No matter how many times we told our son that he needs help to get on the same level as other children, he wouldn't accept it. As he was approaching his teens, he gradually isolated himself from the world. He had no friends, no hobbies, and avoided spending time with us, although he didn't mind spending it with his siblings. He avoided other kids at school, and as soon as he got home, he would lock himself up in his room, and only went out when absolutely necessary. When he was 10, he also began to refuse to celebrate his birthday because it reminded him that yet another year has gone by and everything is still just as bad. He ended up getting depression and suicidal thoughts and blamed it on the special treatment we gave him. We tried to get Stephen therapy and antidepressants, but he refused because at that point he wasn't accepting any help at all, even for things that had nothing to do with his autism. When he was 15, he tried to kill himself by hanging, but luckily, he survived. Stephen tried to make a deal that if we let him go to a different school where no one knew that he is autistic, he would accept treatment for his depression, and even a few of his teachers as well as his siblings told us to let him do that. But we didn't allow that because we didn't think that he would get through school without help. Right after graduating school, he was 18 at the time, our son got accepted into his dream university, the University of Oxford, and moved out. We didn't even know that he had applied to university and only found out from the goodbye letter he left. It was a very angry and hateful letter. He said that we ruined 12 years of his life and went on a rant about how much he hates us. He cut off all contact to us, but kept talking to James and Kate, and blocked us everywhere. We tried to contact Stephen from other numbers, emails, and sent him letters, but he never answered. According to our other children, he was studying chemistry and biology. He always expressed an interest in those and science in general growing up, and in his last years with us also said that he wanted to get a PhD and become either a pharmacologist or an organic chemist, although we thought that would be too hard for him. And had even made some friends. My husband and I visited him at university at the beginning of last November, but he wouldn't talk to us and even said that he will get a restraining order against us if we don't leave him alone. About a month after that, he attempted suicide again, this time by overdosing on medication, and unfortunately, he succeeded. Kate blamed us for his death, saying that he repeatedly told us how much he didn't want to be treated differently, but we never listened. She has since also cut off contact because she couldn't and didn't want to forgive us for killing her brother. Our other son has also been visiting and talking to us much less since then. In just a couple of months, we have lost pretty much all of our children. We tried to distract ourselves, but with Stephen's birthday coming up, we can only think of him and our other children, even if they have abandoned us and he didn't like to celebrate his birthday. How do we get our daughter to talk to us again? Posted December 12, 2022. We miss him so much. Our 60M and 51F daughter Kate, 24F, completely stopped talking to us about 10 months ago. She did it because according to her, we are to blame for her younger brother's, 21M suicide, which happened about 1.5 months prior to Kate cutting off contact to us. However, at the time of his suicide he has already also been no contact with us for over a year. He left for university, stopped talking to us and blocked us everywhere immediately after graduation, and we didn't even know he had applied for university. With the exception of one time when we visited him at university, and even then he didn't talk to us. Kate's other brother, 27M, still regularly talks to her, and we've tried to get him to get her to talk to us again, but he refuses because he thinks that Kate doesn't have to talk to us if she doesn't want to, and he also believes that our youngest killed himself because of us, even though it doesn't make any sense. She doesn't talk to any of her other relatives. We've reached out to her on social media but she didn't answer, and although we knew where she lived until recently, we visited but she was never home. According to her brother, she has moved to NYC this September because she enrolled into a PhD program at some university there, so we don't even know where she lives now. What can we do to get Kate to talk to us again? My husband's drinking problem is getting out of control. What can I do? Posted December 18, 2022. My 51F husband, 60M, has had a drinking problem for somewhat over 2 years now. He usually drinks vodka and occasionally wine and has 5 shots of vodka on weekdays and sometimes up to a whole bottle on weekends. When he drinks wine, It's even more, and he will even have an entire bottle during the week. When he's drunk, he is extremely angry, and although he doesn't get physically aggressive, he screams and yells a lot. And I basically don't get any real time with him, with the exception of the occasional few hours on a weekend. Because he gets drunk as soon as he gets home on workdays and often starts drinking by around noon on weekends as well. His drinking problem comes in waves. With my help, he has managed to get it under control multiple times, and although he would still drink almost every day, it was usually nowhere near enough to get him drunk, but it always gets worse again. He only began intensively drinking about 2 years ago when our youngest applied to university without us knowing and then cut us off when he went off to said university. My husband felt very angry and betrayed, and he still is, and that's when he resorted to alcohol. Before that, he would only drink on special occasions like holidays, parties and date nights, and even then he almost never had enough to get drunk. I feel like I've lost him since his drinking problem began, at least during the waves when it's really bad, because he's drunk most of the time and then all he does is just scream around. What can we do to end his drinking problem? Am I the asshole for returning to my career to escape the overwhelming responsibility of caring for my husband's autistic niece? My husband, 30M, became the legal guardian to his sister's daughter, 17F, 2 months ago. She lost her single mom last year. My in-laws took her in, but they were too old. That was when my husband became her legal guardian despite my concerns. He told me that he would take care of her completely. We got married a year ago after 15 years of dating. I had a very successful career in a very physically and mentally demanding field. I had to travel a lot. We wanted to start a family and I agreed to be a stay-at-home mom. I quit my job a few months into the marriage when I got pregnant. Sadly, I had a miscarriage. Then his sister died and everything is on hold. In the meantime, I took a part-time job in a related field which allows remote work so that I am not bored out of my mind. My SIL was a nurse. She quit her job to take care of her daughter full-time. Her daughter has a variety of issues including nonverbal autism, a series of development disorders like dyslexia and severe sensory issues. My husband says that he does most of the work. But he doesn't. Since I am working from home part-time, most of the caretaking falls to me. She gets angry and has meltdowns all the time. She doesn't like the food I make and most of the time she ends up throwing food at the floor or at me. I am at my wit's end and it is just so emotionally exhausting. Around December 15th, my husband was working late and asked me to take care of dinner. She is very picky about food. The slightest change in texture or taste from what she is used to can cause a meltdown. She threw the plate at my feet and I ended up bleeding. At that point, I called my husband and asked him to be home ASAP. He said he wouldn't be able to. I went up to my room and told him I'm not dealing with this anymore. He came hours later and she was still crying. He was absolutely furious at me. He called him heartless and irresponsible. I told him I've had enough of both of their ungrateful behavior and told him that I'm going to my mom's and I wouldn't be back until New Year's. He panicked and tried to apologize, but I left. He called me every day asking me to come back. I finally came back and he told me that my stunt had forced him to all available leaves to stay home with her. He told me that he was glad I was back. I told him that I contacted my former company and got my old job back and it starts next Monday. It is in office and requires a lot of travel. He asked me who was supposed to stay at home as she cannot be left alone, he has no more leaves and full-time caretakers are too expensive. I told him he promised to take care of everything when he became her guardian and that it was his problem. As you can guess, my family supports me and his family thinks I am being extremely selfish. So I'm asking for judgment from impartial strangers. I either in this situation. Update. Lot of people were messaging me for an update. So, here goes. I wish I could say things got better. My husband took a few days off to interview special needs nanny caretakers. He ended up finding a good and experienced person to take on the job. He hired her for 6 weekdays. One day, she ended up saying she cannot make it for a couple of days due to an emergency. My husband had a meeting he couldn't miss and asked me to look after his niece for the day. I refused and he took my car keys while I was getting ready and left before I noticed so that I could not go to work. I grew up with a narcissistic gaslighting father who did stuff like this all the time. I told him to come back in 1 hour or I will call CPS and once they get there, I will call a cab and get to work. He ended up driving back and this turned into a big fight and I told him that if he does it again, I will walk out and never look back. He apologized and said that he was just desperate. The worst happened 2 weeks ago. I needed to travel for a couple of weeks for work and I could not find my passport. I am a very organized person and I knew that I did not misplace it. I ended up calling the non-emergency helpline. They ransacked the house and found the passports hidden in his gym bag. It is a crime to steal passports, and they asked me if I wanted to press charges. I said no. Another fight. He told me that he needed me at home that weekend due to a social welfare visit, and he knew that I would not stay even if he had asked me. I kicked them both out of my house, and I told him I would call the police if he came near me again. My house is a premarital asset, thank God for that. I told him that I would be filing for divorce. The welfare visit turned into shit as neither of them were living there when the worker showed up, and the social worker also knew about the recent call to the non-emergency helpline. So, all in all, she was not impressed with our bullshit. He came by 2 days ago. He told me that ended up moving in with his parents. They own and live in a small 2-bedroom apartment. That doesn't qualify according to welfare norms. He ended up asking me for another chance. He asked if I would consider letting him and niece stay until they figured it out, or she would have to go to state's care. He told me that there is no way he can afford rent and a carer and begged me. I told him that I could never forgive what he did. He knew my past with my father, and he still went ahead and did it. He suggested they could move in and we can work on this at couples counseling. I told him that I could never trust him again and that it was over. He asked me if he could get his parents to take in the niece or even relinquished her care to the state, if I would give him another chance. I think months' worth of anger burst that day. I told him that even though it may appear as if the problem between us is niece, it was actually him. He didn't ask me before taking her in. He did nothing to help. He waved my concerns away whenever I felt burnt out. He took on a responsibility without consulting me and dumped everything on me. He chose to take my keys. He chose to hide my passport. I told him things may have been different. Him, my niece and I may have adapted and become a family if he hadn't made the wrong choice, at my expense, at every turn. I told him to get out of my house, it was over and I never want to see any of them ever again. I still don't know if what I'm doing is right or wrong. I know people wanted some sort of happy ending, but it is what it is. I still have not started the divorce proceedings yet, but I will soon. For now, I am taking a break as it has been a very emotional and draining couple of weeks.